I'm joined now by President Trump's economic advisor, Kevin Hassett. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So we saw the president this week impose tariffs, delay a bunch of the tariffs, and then on Friday, he said there are more and bigger tariffs to come, suggesting possibly as high as 250% on Canadian dairy and lumber. Can you just explain, in short, what is driving the president's decision-making on this?
Sure. Let's go through what happened this week, because I didn't really think that the way you guys characterized the tariffs made sense to me. So I just want to go back to what happened. What happened was that we launched a drug war, not a trade war, and it was part of a negotiation to get Canada and Mexico to stop shipping fentanyl across our borders. And as we've watched them make progress on the drug war, then we've relaxed some of the tariffs that we've put on them because they're making progress. And so that drug war is something that's been going on since really the beginning of the Trump administration. We've also announced that we're going to put out a study April 1st that says what is the harm to America of all the asymmetrical trade practices of foreign governments, and what are we going to do about it? And that's the April 2nd number that you keep hearing the president say. So between now and then, we've got the drug war, which we're hopefully going to solve by the end of the month. Hopefully that we'll actually round up the people in the cartels and stop the flow of fentanyl that's killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. And then we'll be focused on the reciprocal thing. And now on the reciprocal thing, remember that just about every country on earth charges a much higher tariff than we do. And so when we pass an act that says that we're going to have the same tariff they charge us, then you're covering it as if the only possible outcome is that our tariffs go up. But maybe they decide to go down. Right? If you look at Indian tariffs up 85, 90%, are they going to keep those 85, 90% so that we put 85, 90% on everything that comes from India, or are they going to lower them? I think that it's an interesting question. The president is putting things on the table that are basically, core fairness issues. Let's just be fair. Whatever you do to us, we'll do to you. That's what he's asking for in April, and it's not a radical idea at all.
But let me ask, because I am confused now about what you're saying about this being a drug war, not a trade war. So let's just take Canada. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said Canada's shipping fentanyl into the United States. I mean, I don't think that's happening.
Sure.
I mean, 1% of fentanyl is being smuggled across the border. 1%. I mean, Canada's not a major source at all of fentanyl in the United States, are they?
Well, yes, they are a major source. And I can tell you that in the Situation Room, I've seen photographs of fentanyl labs in Canada that the law enforcement folks were leaving alone. Canada's got a big drug problem, even in their own cities. Go walk around, Toronto and see what it's like, and you'll see that it is a big problem. And frankly, we have intelligence that Mexican cartels operate in Canada as well. And so if you want to get the cartels out of the U.S., you got to get them out of Canada and Mexico.
Okay, but if you're saying that this is an effort to make them crack down and it's worked.
It's working, yes, it's working.
Then why are these tariffs the very same tariffs, going back into effect on April 2nd?
Well, we'll see what happens. So what's going on with the trade war is that we're going to have reciprocal tariffs in April. What's going on with the drug war is we're trying to make progress.
So there is a trade war. So there is a trade war.
In April, there's going to be a reciprocal tariff. And then if they lower their tariffs, we'll lower ours. But between now and then, the act that created the tariffs that you're seeing in Canada and Mexico was 100% about progress in the drug war. And that's the clear meaning of the executive order that the president signed and the clear focus of the intel briefings we're getting almost every day.
I know you occasionally read the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal editorial board this week suggested the tariffs aren't legal, but then they also wrote this. He's treating the North American economy as a personal plaything as markets gyrate with each presidential whim. How do you respond to the Wall Street Journal?
Well, I think what the president's trying to do is make it so that when we produce something, we produce it at home. Make no mistake, the trade deficit with Canada and Mexico, they accumulate to about $1 trillion a year. Add China, it's $1.5 trillion. And in a free market that didn't have any kind of finger on the scale, then what we'd see would be that those trade deficits would decline over time as currencies adjusted. But that's not happening. And so what happens now is, for example, in a typical month, $35 billion worth of cars are imported, and our manufacturers export about $13 billion worth of cars. And those are all jobs that Americans don't have. President Trump wants to bring the jobs home, bring the wealth home, and bring the wages home. And you saw that in the first jobs report. So what you saw in the first jobs report, after having 110,000 manufacturing jobs destroyed in the last year of the Biden administration, we had 10,000 created in just the month of February. 9,000 of them are going to be auto jobs because auto manufacturers are thinking, geez, ahead of the tariffs, we need to start to move this stuff back home. Now, what that does is it bids up the price of labor, it makes wages higher, it makes incomes higher, and it makes it easier for people to pay for things. And so if you're looking at tariffs in isolation and not thinking about the job creation that the tariffs create, then you're doing only half the picture.
Okay, so you suggested that perhaps other countries react by cutting their tariffs.
They might.
And they do what we want in terms of the drug. So just in terms of fighting drugs, are the tariffs in the president's mind a temporary measure, or is this a permanent plan going forward? Because he's also talked about tariffs being a way to end the budget deficit.
Well, I think the way to think about it is that if we have a reciprocal tariff and we have a country that doesn't lower their rates, and so right now, for example, there's a 10% tariff on American autos sold into Europe. So if we put a 10% tariff on European cars sold into the U.S., then maybe that becomes a new equilibrium. If that is a new equilibrium, then what's going to happen is that more and more production is going to happen onshore here in the U.S., and we're going to be creating great American auto jobs. And if they lower the tariff right away, then maybe there'll be more movement back and forth, both for U.S. cars and for foreign cars. But right now, there's a very, very asymmetric trade policy around the world where everybody's putting high tariffs on our stuff if we sell it there. And we've got very low tariffs when we bring it in here, and they've got value-added taxes as well. So it's like 30% charge to sell a U.S. car in Germany, for example, right now. And just a sales tax if you sell it here, and a state sales tax at that. And so that's something that's led to this huge trade deficit. And President Trump believes, as I believe, as an economist, I think as all economists believe, that that lowers the demand for labor, it lowers wages, it makes it harder for people to get good, high-paying jobs here in the U.S. And that's the thing that we're fixing. And again, looking at the jobs report that we just got this Friday, you can see that it's already working. In just 1 month alone, after losing 110,000 manufacturing jobs, we made 10,000 in February alone. 9,000 of them were auto jobs.
So just quickly before you go, I want to ask you about something
Sure.
Treasury Secretary Bessent said. He said that, this is a quote, access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. Is he suggesting essentially that higher prices are not a problem if the end result is more higher paying, good American jobs?
Let's think about it just the way we would do it in Econ 101. If I buy a Mercedes, then it goes into consumption. So, say $100,000 for a Mercedes goes into consumption, but then it comes out of imports, and so it has no effect on GDP. And a lot of times when we're thinking about the welfare of Americans, we're thinking about GDP per the number of Americans, per capita. If you buy a Buick, then it goes into consumption, but it doesn't come out of imports, and so it goes into GDP. That's what the D is. It's domestic production. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to increase the welfare of Americans, then it's better to have the stuff produced here. And that's a very, very simple fact that the president is pushing very hard.
All right, Kevin Hassett, I really appreciate you
Great to be
being
here.
with us this morning. Thank you very much.